fishing action from the bass fishing state on this week's Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show. Stay with us as we highlight some of the strategies of the Alabama Bass Trail anglers and cover some of the finest fisheries the state of Alabama has to offer, from north on Guntersville to south on the Alabama River and a few in between. That, as well as product spotlights from Sportsman's Warehouse, Ranger Boat Trivia, and more. The Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show starts right now. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show. I don't think anyone would argue that the state of Alabama holds some of the best bass fishing waters as just about any state in the union. On today's show, we are going to highlight some of those lakes with help from the fine folks that fish the Alabama Bass Trail. The first stop we visit is Lake Martin. Lake Martin is located in Tallapoosa, Elmore, and Coosa counties in Alabama. It's a 44,000-acre lake with over 750 miles of wooded shoreline. Our anglers took off with conditions being quite warmer than usual for this late winter, early springtime event. It's not quite time yet for the bass to be on the beds, and recent rains are giving the anglers their choice of clear water up lake and dirty water down the lake. Let's head out on the water with Alabama Bass Trail anglers Jeremy Headley and Anthony Goggins.
Focused on wood and boat docks just right off the main lake or main bodies of water, deep water. We're fishing a lot of mud right now, a lot of dirty water. It's been holding its water temps a little bit better with the front that's come in. Largemouth bites have been few and far between, but if you ever do get bit, it's usually a pretty good one. I've been fishing a lot of vertical stuff, just knocking around a bunch of different things. Seem to be holding on the wood and some of the boat docks by themselves to me a lot better than the real shallow water.
The father and son team of Scott and Taylor Ashley were on them, but still trying to find a little more quality.
We caught them pretty good in the back of this creek on a crankbait, but we fished there yesterday and didn't catch crap, so we idled across this point and they're loaded here. So I mean, they're not huge, but once we get a solid limit, which we have a solid limit, we're gonna go try to find some largemouth. There's one right there.
So they're just eating right now. It doesn't really matter a whole lot what you throw. Along with my bait stays messed up. I'm not putting a lot of time into making the presentation perfect. As long as there's something that resembles a crawdad or a little worm hanging on there, they'll hit it right now, or they have been this morning.
The Taylor strategy brought them a third-place finish with 15.60 pounds of Lake Martin bass. 15.97 and 16.66 were weights that also took the top three. Moving to a northern Alabama lake, our next stop is Lewis Smith Lake, located on the Sipsey Fork of the Black Warrior River. The lake covers over 21,000 acres with over 500 miles of shoreline. Our anglers headed out on this lake in early March, and the air temperature at takeoff was a foggy and cold 28 degrees. Here's local guide Jerry Allen.
We're fishing on Smith Lake, and it's a water control lake. It's a deep, clear lake. Of course, you're going to find some dingy water today because we just had a recent rain. And most of the guys are going to be what we call point hopping up here. You can see a few boats already starting to fish some points. They're going to be fishing for spotted bass. Some of them's going to be up in the back of the creeks fishing for some largemouth. There should be some color to the back of the creek. So this afternoon way in, we're probably going to see a few largemouth, especially if the sun comes on out. I imagine his boat sitting in over 60 foot of water. That's what scares a lot of people when they come up here. But that point runs out there fairly shallow. When you see it when the water's down, those guys coming up here to practice for these events, they'd be so much better to come up here in the dead of winter when the water is drawn down to see what they're fishing over. You can see the point running off to the right-hand side over there now with the water at 505. If you come up here and look when the water's down to 496, 498, you see a lot of these exposed points.
All morning long, we witnessed about the same pattern. One angler throwing a jig, the other a worm, but the action was slow.
Haven't seen anybody throwing a jerkbait this morning. It looked like this wind right here would lend itself to a jerkbait bite this morning a little bit. That 28-degree night last night may have kept them pushed down a little bit until that sun gets on it a little more. Along that bank right there, that bank's, they're fishing, they're sitting in about 45, 50 foot of water, but they're throwing up there in 12, 14 foot of water, and there's a bunch of trees and cover. It looked like about a DD-14 Rapala in a red crawfish color, and it looked like the boy out of the back of the boat is throwing something similar, maybe a smaller size, along that bank right there. More than likely, that's what they're fishing. And plus, this time of year, fish is starting to move back into these creeks, and we're sitting at the mouth of what we call Little Crooked Creek. A lot of fish caught in here in the early winter, late spring.
We'll continue highlighting some great bass lakes and some strategies, as well as check out some of the latest products from Sportsman's Warehouse when the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show continues right after this.
This portion of the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show is presented by Progressive, a leader in boat insurance. Brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. See for yourself by going to rangerboats.com, and by your local Sportsman's Warehouse, featuring quality Rapala baits, lures, apparel, and more.
Welcome back, everyone. This week, we're highlighting some of the great bass fisheries in the great state of Alabama, with a little help from the anglers of the Alabama Bass Trail. Our next stop is a favorite among tournament anglers. Let's check out the action on Lake Guntersville. The first anglers we pulled up on were fishing the edge of a grass line in about 10 to 12 feet of water. As the fish move up, and from the looks of it, they had some success.
Looks like they're using some moving baits, you know, maybe some TT6s, something along that line.
Justin Atkins and Drew Long had another strategy working.
Well, this week it's been, you know, getting warmer every day. Water temp's been rising, and there's a ton of small bass on bed, 2 and 3 pounders. The sun's not gonna come out today, but as the day just brightens up, I'm gonna try to look and see if we can't find a big one locked on somewhere.
Justin and Drew found this protected pocket full of grass, out of the wind, and are fishing shallow in no more than 3 or 4 feet of water, finding some bedding fish.
I got him. Yeah. Told you I saw him.
Start to that.
I'm proud to have him. It's been a little bit tough, but we'll take him for a starter for sure. And let's see if there's a female over there with him. That's the key to fishing. You just got to stay focused and just pay attention. I mean, I just saw that fish make a figure 8 out there, and that's a classic sign of one being on bed and guarding that area. And stay back off of him, just throw over to him and catch him. He gonna make the team. Maybe close. No. He ain't gonna throw him back now.
Sportsman's Warehouse pro Brian Thrift joins us for the latest gear he uses in this week's edition of the Sportsman's Warehouse Product Spotlight.
Hi, Sportsman's Warehouse pro Brian Thrift here with another edition of the Sportsman's Warehouse Product Spotlight. This is the Damiki Rambler. It's a walking topwater bait. See, it's got a nice feather hook on the back of it. I love this bait anytime I can get a good topwater bite. I can cast it a mile, I can work it fast, work it slow, I can target cover and fish open water with it. And that's what makes this bait so unique, is it's so versatile. I've got it on 15-pound P-line PF original monofilament. I've got it on a 7-foot medium heavy Stunner Fitzgerald rod. And I'm going to show you how I like to fish this bait. There's literally 1,000 ways you can do it, but I can make super long casts with it. And once it hits the water, if I'm fishing open water, points, over brush, schooling fish, I'll work it fast. I'll just get a good walk going, and this bait is actually zigzagging back and forth across the top of the water, and it looks just like a fleeing bait fish. That's one of my favorite ways to do it, is just work it fast and try to get that reaction bite. But then another technique I like to do is fish targets with it, be it boat docks, brush tops sticking out of the water, lay downs. And what I'll do then is I'll take this bait, I'll pitch it out next to the target, and I can twitch it in one spot, and it'll just sit there and it'll just pester that fish to death until he comes up and bites that bait. That's what makes this Damiki Rambler so great, and it's available 24/7 on sportsmanswarehouse.com, America's premier outfitters.
We'll be back with more on the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show right after this.
Today's show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Just ask Flo. She knows how to save on boat insurance. Sponsored by Evinrude, proven power, proven reliability. By Buckeye Lures, specializing in custom-made baits. And by Stratos Boats. Inspiration runs deep.
Welcome everybody to this week's installment of the Progressive Insider. Did you know that Progressive Insurance offers tailor-made coverage perfect for bass fishermen? Let's talk about the Propulsion Plus coverage offered by Progressive. This option is the result, again, of customer feedback, as are many of the customizable coverage options. Propulsion Plus is designed to pay for the repairs or replacement of a lower unit on an outboard or the outdrive of a stern drive motor in the event of mechanical failure, even if that failure is due to simple wear and tear. Think about this. For as little as $38 per year, you can have Propulsion Plus, which will save you the thousands of dollars it will cost to replace or repair the lower unit on an outboard or the outdrive on a stern drive. The folks at Progressive were seeing lots of claims for outdrive damage and found that the causes were often mechanical. Therefore, Progressive created the coverage to protect more people from mechanical failure. Hey, we've all been there. Maybe you've been in the boat literally yourself, but we've all seen somebody stranded out on big water because their lower unit went out. I mean, how many times have you been around a tournament weigh-in and heard that story, that sad song? It's either the big one that got away or the mechanical failure, you know, in your rods, reels, or your boat and motor. Well, the lower unit, yeah, it may fail on you, but at least you're going to protect your wallet and your financial investment in that boat and that motor. So to check out Propulsion Plus and all the other customizable coverages for outdoorsmen like yourself offered by Progressive, click on progressive.com.
Thanks, Vance. We continue our tour highlighting some of the best bass fisheries the state of Alabama has to offer. Our next featured lake has played host to the Bassmaster Classic in 2002, as it is well known for quality spotted bass and largemouth bass. We head out on the water with Alabama Bass Trail North Division competitor Kenneth Grover.
Blay Lake is part of the Coosa River chain. It has a good population of largemouth, good sized largemouth, and it also has the Coosa spotted bass. And the Coosa spotted bass is not your traditional spotted bass that you see in a lot of other parts of the country. It's a spotted bass that lives somewhat in largemouth type cover, and they're very hard fighting fish. And it wouldn't surprise me if this tournament could be won on the spotted bass. The spotted bass in this lake are big enough to where that you can easily get a 20+ pound bag of pure spotted bass. Well, this is a little pocket that has some shoreline grass, and there's also some standing timber. Standing timber is kind of on the edge of the grass where it falls off in deeper water. These fish are starting to move up. We got surface temp in the low to mid 60s, so these fish are starting to move in. Looks like he just had a bite there and missed it. Let's see if he can throw back in there and catch it. There he goes, he's hooked up. There we go, he's hooked up again. Looks like maybe a little better fish.
Meanwhile, the team of Bradley and Lemley located some bedding fish, and it looks like their strategy's beginning to pay off.
You on the bed?
Yeah, on bed. What's up, brother? Ooh, I didn't know she was that big. I saw her yesterday. Yeah, she'll bite. I don't know how big this one is, but... Got her. Come on, baby. Stay on there. Hugs her on the freaking side. I'm bed fishing on the last one that I had to throw back. I foul hooked it because I thought it had it. It actually did for a second, but I guess it spit at the same time. And a lot of times you'll do that. You'll accidentally snag one every now and then, and you have to throw it back. And, I'm paying the price for it right now. It would have been nice to have a 3.5 pounder in the boat, but oh well.
How much do you know about bass boats? Well, here's your chance to test your knowledge of the leader in bass boats, Ranger Boats, with this week's Ranger Boats Question of the Week. Introduced in 2016, what is the name of the largest bass fishing platform ever produced by Ranger Boats? Find the answer to this and all kinds of information about Ranger Boats by logging on to mydreamrig.com. Coming up, we head out to the country and learn a little bit about the Alabama River and Miller's Ferry Lake when the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show continues right after this.
You're watching the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show, presented by Progressive Insurance, a leader in boat insurance, by Ranger Boats, by Evan Root, by Buckeye Lures, by Stratus Boats, and by Sportsman's Warehouse.
Welcome back. As you've seen so far, we've showcased many tournament anglers showcasing their best patterns on the best Alabama lakes. In this segment, Alabama Bass Trail North Division angler Kenneth Grover is back with us, and this time he's at Miller's Ferry Lake on the Alabama River.
This is the Alabama Bass Trail South Division tournament at Miller's Ferry in the city of Camden, Alabama. And all the anglers have taken off this morning. We've come out to try to follow a few and see if we can't figure out what kind of patterns are working and give you an idea of all the different types of places this lake has to offer. This is it's part of the Alabama River, so you've got river conditions, but there's a lot of backwater creeks, a lot of shoreline grass, stumps, trees. There's a lot of different cover. It looks like they're fishing fairly slow. I would think he looks like he's fishing a jig, maybe swimming a jig a little bit. We'll see a lot of that. We'll probably see a lot of plastics, kind of the same thing. And I'm sure the anglers are predominantly going to start off shallow, try to get that shallow morning bite. Some of them may actually go a little bit deeper as the day wears on. Well, there's currently not a single cloud in the sky, so I think that's what we're going to have all day. It's going to be warm. I think the high today is at like 86 degrees. The wind's supposed to be out of the north, 5 to 10.
So far, the bite seems there, but the size is eluding a couple of anglers we saw early. Kenneth spoke about the challenges these anglers may face not being as familiar with the lake, as well as the less pressure these lakes receive in comparison with your more northern fisheries.
And there's so much information on those northern lakes that have gotten out over the years that the fishermen have really learned it really well. Lakes down here, it's still a lot of local knowledge and guys that spend time on the water that are really the ones that know the most about it. We've been on the water for a little while filming and thought I would pull out a few baits that I think we'll see throughout the day. Some of the things guys we've already seen do and guys we'll see do later on. But a lot of shoreline cover here. Guys are going to start off shallow. We're going to see creature type baits used quite a bit, or lizards, plastics. We'll also see some guys fishing the shoreline grass, may even see some fishing heavy cover. Lots of times you'll go with a more of a slim profile bait to get through the cover easier. And we'll also see crawfish patterns, and not only just just crawfish patterns rigged by themselves, Texas rigged, but we'll also see them teamed up with jigs. This is a pretty common combination for tournaments. Guys that fish jigs a lot their weights tend to be quite a bit better on average. Like I said, we've also seen some guys throwing swimming jigs. This is a Gambler swim jig, and usually team it up with a swim bait, and you can get swim baits in various sizes. So these guys lots of times will pair the swim bait, the size of the swim bait, based on the forage that's in the area. But this is probably pretty typical for the size bait that would be used this time of year. We've already seen some as well throwing shallow crankbaits. Here's just a square bill crankbait. There's a lot of stumps and cover, and the square bills come through that cover really well.
Thanks, Kenneth. That's all the time we have for this week. We hope you've enjoyed our scenic tour of some of the best lakes in the state of Alabama. Stay up to date on area bass tournaments, industry news, and information by logging on to anglerschannel.com. In the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Studio, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.